Hello, ladies. Assalamu alaikum. I am live now. I believe, and I'm hoping that the dogs that are barking outside are not causing so much noise because they are for me. Actually, let me do this. Hopefully, these will help with the noise reduction. Okay, so today we are going to talk about challenges faced by mid-career women. I have not been one of those mid-career women, but I have been an entrepreneur, mid-career entrepreneur, and I have experienced those challenges through other, through colleagues, when I was employed years ago, I did see what it means to experience those challenges. And sorry, let me just set up this right because I seem to be okay. I hope it's working fine. Every time I come on here, it's like I haven't done this before, so almost looks like I'm doing it for the first time. But I am glad I am back. I have been quiet for a while with so much going on. So anyways, reason I wanted to do this video is because I have coached quite a number of ladies this year, who are trying to transition into leadership or who feel that they do have management responsibilities or leadership responsibilities. However, they don't feel like what they are doing represents what's expected of them. What do I mean by that? I had a young lady call me and tell me, look, ever since I got this job, I have done way more than I was required to. And for that reason, I feel like I'm already doing, or I already have leadership responsibilities. However, it hasn't been defined in my contract, and I want to be able to negotiate or renegotiate it with my supervisor, my boss. So I said, okay, what do you mean you don't, it hasn't been recognized in your contract? And she said her contract was up for renewal. So what we decided to do was get her ready to discuss her new contract. Then I have another young lady who called me up with the same reasons, how she's not being recognized. Her efforts are not being recognized. She feels she pulls her weight, goes above and beyond what's required of her. However, she felt like she deserved growth, but it wasn't being introduced to her by her supervisor. So she felt like her supervisor wasn't paying attention or even introducing her to key stakeholders. I knew that that's one of the things that she wanted to achieve. So those are just two examples of the type of woman that I've been working with. And of course, there are others. Being that I'm a burnout prevention coach, one of my other clients' complaint is a lack of support from her spouse, and that was depleting her morale at work. And she felt like, it was affecting who she was or who she wanted to show up as at work. So I decided, let me round these challenges all up and bring them to the table so we can have a discussion about them. And I'll be curious to hear from you all, whether you're watching the video now or later, what it means for you. So, what are some of the challenges that we experience as Muslim women, mid-career women? And these challenges are not foreign to minorities like Black women or Asians. They really aren't, or even just women. So, what are some of the challenges people experience in trying to rise up the ladder or trying to grow? Mid career, I'm now trying to grow. Number one, the biggest one I think is a lack of representation. What do I mean by that? We're often underrated, or underrepresented in leadership. And for that reason, we come off as women who probably cannot manage, right? Of course, all the other challenges as well. The underlying fear is that we cannot manage. So there's that fear where, because we have a lack of representation at the top, it is very difficult, or rather, it's not common for your typical leadership to be able to advance women of our background. Secondly, of course, bias and discrimination that we're probably all aware of, and especially in the patriarchy, women, are naturally looked at as second-class citizens. That's what I want to say. That's what I always say, that sometimes we are looked at as second-class citizens. And those biases are everywhere. Those biases are never going to end. We must do our part as women to try and change those biases, but we all must agree that it is human nature to be biased. It is human nature to discriminate. So as long as humans traverse this planet, this is not going anywhere. All right. Number 3, stereotyping. This is so common amongst, this is typical, especially for Muslim women. We are stereotyped as maybe being submissive, docile, not assertive enough to be able to rise into roles of leadership. And it's unfortunate. It really is, because there's so many women out there who have demonstrated that they have the courage to lead. And the interesting thing is women who lead with, with a spiritual purpose, they make some of the best leaders because of their strong moral inclination and values. So it's quite unfortunate that stereotyping lets us, puts us in a category that we actually don't belong. And number 4 is a lack of mentorship and networking opportunities. Now, I'll give you an example. In my previous employment, when I first got out of college and joined a bank, I was 20, whatever the 20 is when you get out of college, 22, maybe 23. And it was, the environment was very patriarchy, especially for those in leadership. And I remember being given the opportunity to rise up. My supervisors were great people, by the way. 2 white males. By the time I left the bank, it was 3 white males who had been my supervisors in those 7 years that I was at the bank. But because of who I was, because I was a Muslim, I did not engage in a lot of activity that most of my colleagues engaged in, going out to the bars and things like that, and golf. And because most of our clients were male and most of my colleagues were male, the kind of things they did for entertainment did not work for me. So I hardly networked. They were always networking. They would drag me along and I would go. And then I would feel out of place. So this was something that I probably should say that I brought onto myself, not allowing myself to open up a network for various reasons. In some circumstances, I would have done well. I would have networked and done well. But in other, for example, the golf outings, those gave me a chance to open up. It wasn't a bar. It wasn't, it was just golf. They were golfing, doing whatever they do on golf courses. But I was never the I would never open up to golf because I looked at myself as a non-golfer. In fact, I used to think it was such a boring sport. I mean, for goodness sake, how many 23-year-old women do you see on the golf course? Maybe they're there now. Clearly not back then when I was employed. Moving on, number 5, balancing work and family responsibilities. Now, where that becomes a challenge for us especially is because, again, not just at work but even at home, the patriarchy has decided that the woman's place is at home. And in a lot of cultures, the woman is the one that takes up responsibility for everything at home. The husband comes home and just sits, lays back, puts his feet up, and he's fed or taken care of by the woman. So when you have a household where both people are working and the woman has to come home and do everything at home as well, I mean, that can be quite a challenge. And that is one of the reasons we actually burn out, because we're trying to juggle it all. And what's frustrating is, or rather what's not frustrating, what's sad is a lot of women believe they have to do it that way. So they give up so much of themselves, and they get exhausted. In fact, one of my clients was telling me that her husband doesn't do anything. She was complaining that he doesn't do anything, he doesn't help out. But she was the one that trained him to be that, because she thought when she came home, she had to take care of everything about the home. So now she's trying to find out how she can teach him how to change, or rather to support her at home, to give her, to help out a little bit more with the children, with the sports, the birthdays, name it. All right. So yes, balancing work and family responsibilities, oftentimes that's a problem that we create because we think we have to do it all. Number 5, and by the way, burnout, like I always say, it is no badge of honor. And you do not have to do it all. You really don't. Number 6, cultural barriers. Some women may face, cultural barriers that prevent them from pursuing careers, or pursuing leadership positions, because in their culture, it is not womanly or it is not feminine. They think you have to be masculine to be able to lead others. And for some, it is your ultimate and number one responsibility is to get married, be a wife, and be a mother. So rising up in your career is secondary. I see that around me all the time. There's a school that I used to go to. When I got burnt out, I went to a school, an Islamic school, and I used to spend 2 hours a day there. I did that for 3 weeks and got my certificate out of there. I went there specifically because I needed the spiritual growth, and it felt like an anchor to help me with my burnout. Now, there were young women in that school. They had an adult section and younger women. The younger women were around 16 to 23, 24 years old. So oftentimes we would be called upon to go and mentor them, talk to them, spend some time with them, the young ladies, to empower them, encourage them, to, give any kind of support we would. So I used to talk to those young ladies very often. And what's interesting is many of those young women would be brought into that school to study their Islam, and next on the agenda, get married. So we grow up believing that marriage is the number one priority. Yes, it's good. And yes, in Islam, it is absolutely recommended. It is a beautiful thing too. However, there is no script that says, a rule that says that everyone is going to get married right after they leave college. So those culture barriers hold us back. And once somebody gets out in the workplace with that in mind, they're not going to show up fully with their best self, because half of them is saying, whereas I'm working, I need to go find a man. Whereas I'm working, I want to start a family. It is okay to have those thoughts, but are you holding yourself back because you think you have to go find a man or have to have a family? Number 7, language barriers. Yep, been there, done that, experienced that before. But luckily for me, language barrier was something that I experienced at a younger age. I left Uganda to go to the UK for high school, to finish my last 2 years of high school, the A levels in the UK. And when I got there, my accent was different, of course. And these, my these young ladies used to ask me when I would pronounce certain things differently, and they wouldn't understand me. But because I was lucky enough to be young, I managed to adjust, but I can understand all too well. Some of us come from backgrounds that have very strong accents from our mother tongues, and we are not easily understood. We might have the capabilities, we might have the skills. I mean, if you're a salesperson and you absolutely love sales and you have the skills, sometimes your accent is going to hold you back because you're not going to be able to express yourself in a way that the person that you're trying to sell to expects, right? And not that that's any of your fault. You are who you are and you're worthy the way you are. But those perceptions are the ones that then hold us back. From perceptions about ourselves, of course, but also perceptions from other people. Number 8, a lack of support from colleagues and superiors. I don't know how many times I hear people tell me that I go above and beyond. I support so and so. I give. I do this. I do that. But I don't get the same in return. Now, my friends, one of the things that I had to learn the hard way was to manage my expectations. When you do something wholeheartedly, unconditionally, you reduce your chances of disappointment because you're doing it to please none other but your Almighty. And it gives you fulfillment when you do it wholeheartedly. So when somebody is expecting others to reciprocate, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment, because some people will take, but they don't necessarily know how to give back. It is more fulfilling when you do it unconditionally, so you can find that meaning for you than do it for somebody else. However, when we are trying to grow, we need the support and we need, the mentoring from superiors. So if you find yourself having a very small circle at work and you're not able to get the support that you need or the mentoring that you need from colleagues and superiors, it is always best to seek it outside, because that person outside is also going to give you a much different perspective from the people that you work with. Number 9, religious discrimination. I had to bring that up. I really had to. I have seen women tell me that they are not able to practice their religious rights in certain organizations. For example, wearing the scarf. We pray 5 times a day, and sometimes people fail to find, not just women, even men, fail to find a place to pray quietly. And initially, before I got into this work, personal development work, my argument would have been, why are you even working there? Why don't you find someplace else? But today, after all the experience, after the experience I've been through, and I was lucky enough when I was employed, I had the space to pray. I created space. One, when I was, after my training, I went into an office that was brand new. So I had my own office space. So I'd close my door and pray. When I moved to another department where I did not have my own private space, it was private, but it was cubicle style private. So if I was to pray in my room, somebody else passing by would be able to see me. Then I would go to the boardroom. I learned to create that space for myself, and lucky for me, the organization was inclusive, so I really didn't have a challenge. But there's several women out there who cannot practice their religion the best, the best way or the way they should, because the environment they're in doesn't allow it. Now, of course, if I was working with somebody like that, we would look at your values. What's really valuable to you spiritually, and how do you then manage to live your values in harmony with your workplace? And if you're not able to, what is plan B, right? Choice. Life is all about choices. Number 10, a lack of resources. We may lack access to resources such as training and development and programs or funding, but there's so many out there. I'm talking lack of resources internally within the organization. So in that case, what we do is you go and find them out there. Find them outside of the organization if the organization is not going to support your growth. Step out, find them out. There's so much out there. There's so much out there on the internet that we can use, that we can take advantage of. A few minutes ago, I was on LinkedIn, and I was looking at, and this is something new. I had never seen it before. There's an organization, women, I've forgotten the name, but this organization was actually, it has a cohort where they support women leaders. When I find it, I'll put it in the comments below. And I'd never heard of it. I mean, it's often every day I'm learning about a new organization that's supporting women into leadership or women in leadership, whichever way. There's so much out there. The sky is the limit. The internet is our best friend. It has helped bring a lot of this stuff closer to us. So I'd really implore you to look for, if you're not getting the support within the organization, look for it out there, because it's there. It is there. Some of these are free, some are so affordable, and some you might have to pay something. But remember, investing in yourself is the best thing you can ever do for yourself. All right. So I'm hoping that if you are in any of these situations, any of these circumstances, or if you identify any circumstances that I've spoken about, or challenges that I've spoken about in your circumstances or place of work, then what I want to encourage you to do is, first of all, know that you're not alone. Secondly, understand that there's choice in growth. You can do so much to help yourself in your current circumstances. The support is out there. Getting a coach is one of them. I cannot get off this call without speaking about that, or rather the live without speaking about that. So getting a coach is one of them. You might want to consider getting a coach to help you navigate, especially if you have the desire to grow, if you have the desire to experience the impossible and create a life, a career that is meaningful and fulfilling for you. Coaches, mentors, there's plenty of support out there. Go out and get it. Don't limit yourself. The minute you step out and decide to go out and get it, you're actually practicing self-love. You are prioritizing yourself. You are taking leadership into your own hands. One of the things that I do with my clients is a leadership development program. We create one based on their goals. They envision where they want to go. We look at their values, what's valuable for you, but what are the values? What's more important for you? What's most important for you if you want to grow into a leadership role or you want to grow in your career? We look at areas where they are strong, areas where they would need support, and we explore ways of how they can get the support that they need for those areas. And it's amazing what they come up with. Last week, one of my clients was having a conversation about salary increase. She wanted to have a conversation with her boss about a salary increase, but that conversation came about last week. We had been working together for about 5 weeks. By the time she got to having this conversation, she wasn't even going to talk about salary. She was just going to talk about her accomplishments and the impact she's had with her organization. It is more fulfilling. That is the proof you need to be able to get the salary increase, right? So when you're struggling to create a change in your circumstances, chances are you probably need to look at things differently. There's something you need to do differently in order to step out of that stuckness. All right? Ladies, prioritize yourself. It is going to be the best investment you can ever do for yourself. All right? I'll see you back soon with more insight on how you can help yourself grow in your career. We shall be talking about family. We shall be talking about so many things. So what I would like for you to do as well, drop some comments down below and also let me know what you would like to learn about, because whereas I speak burnout, it's broad. There's so many reasons that we burn out. Some are reasons coming from office, and some of them may be coming from home. Challenges that we're having at home might be causing us to be burning out. Burnout can even start from home, and then it affects all the other areas of your life, including your work. All right, ladies, speak soon. Bye-bye.